Welcome to the Emotions with Ease podcast. I'm Jamie Glenn, an emotional wellness coach for families. And today we have a treat of a guest. Her name is Sherrie Williams. Sherrie is a homeschooling mama of 6, fractional COO, and coach who helps people recognize patterns in their lives and steward their resources wisely. As a mother's ministry leader and consultant to women-led organizations, she creates elegant structures of depth, beauty, and simplicity that serve both families and vision. She believes everything from how we structure our days to how we spend our resources is an opportunity to create something meaningful. And you can follow her at Intentional Motherhood on Instagram or see her on her website, sherrieann.com. And I will link both of those in our show notes. Sherrie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. We're going to just dive right in because the people who listen to this are busy mamas. And so I always like to think of these moms as like, they're just popping in their headphones, on a brisk walk for emotional regulation, or maybe, in between laundry loads, who knows, or in between like car pickup, all of that good stuff. So we're just going to go ahead and dive right into our first question. So you have 6 kiddos. Wow. Can you what are the ranges? What's the age ranges?
My oldest just turned 17, and then I've got a almost 16-year-old, a 14-year-old, a 12-year-old, a just turned 6-year-old, and then a 20-month-old.
Does it feel like a pop quiz every time?
It does. Every time I'm like, okay, wait, whose birthday? Who just turned what?
Yeah, it's not fair because it changes on the regular. I have 2 to keep up with, and I swear, like half the time I'm like, wait, did they just turn what? It changes every year. So I'm kudos to you. You have already passed the test. Everything else will just be smooth sailing. So I would imagine that with that range of ages, you've seen your share of meltdowns. When a child is having a big meltdown from your perspective, and it's looking like a lot of disrespect, what's the first thing that you help parents reframe internally?
Yeah. So for me, it's the behavior itself. When our kids are having a meltdown, our gut reaction is like, oh, you're disrespecting me, you're disobeying me. It's all about how their behavior is affecting us. And so I really feel like for me, it really comes down to like, can I reframe that to be less about a personal attack against me and more about my kid? Because if behavior is a form of communication, most likely they're not communicating something about me. They're communicating something internal that's going on. And so if I can stop to reframe that, then that helps me to be present and curious about them and what's going on for them.
Yeah, that's really, really good. Have you found, is that harder to do? We don't have teens yet. I'm throwing you I'm throwing you a loop.
That's good.
Does that get harder in the teen years from from just like a mom's perspective, not taking it personally? Does that get harder in those years? Or are you like, no, it's just like across the board kind of difficult in the moment to reframe it, to not take it personally?
I think it really depends at what age did you start doing that work. So if you're jumping in with teens and this is like your first time to reframe it, it's going to feel very disrespectful because it's going to be really hard to reframe because they are so much older and they have the thinking power to actively choose bad behavior. And so then it becomes the question of, is this a meltdown or is this a tantrum that they are choosing to throw? Where like a 2-year-old, it's very easy to be like, they have no opinion of me. They just want their food. Like it's a lot easier to reframe their behavior. We've been doing this a long time. I really started to have to work. So I've got multiple kids on the autism spectrum, one with pathological demand avoidance, like profile.
Okay.
So we've been dealing with extreme explosive behaviors for a very long time, learning how to manage a PDA profile. Like over 10 years at this point, we've been doing this. And so it took, we were at this. Now my daughter has hit the teenage years and it's not so bad. I hear all these moms who are like, oh, teens are so mean. And I'm looking at my four teenagers and I'm like, I mean, sure, they have their moments, like, but by and large, they're not. And I think the reason for that is because we've been doing this work to reframe behavior. So they aren't being mean to me intentionally. There isn't that, I don't perceive behavior as mean to me. Not to say that I don't. I texted my friends the other day and I was like, why are girls so mean in particular? Like, she was having a bad day. I was having a bad day. I tried my hardest to reframe it. And no matter what I did, she came at me with like you statement after you statement after you statement. And I was like, I'm done. I hit my max.
Yeah.
So it's not, I don't think it's necessarily easier or harder with the one group. I think it comes down to like, how long have you been working at this? And it does take practice to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's that's a great reframe for some of those parents. Cause you are right. I love where you went with that answer because it is true. It isn't like age specific. It's more so what tools do they have in their toolbox? Yeah. And that could be, if I've been working with my kiddos for like from the get-go, my 5-year-old might honestly have a wider emotional toolbox than my 8-year-old, just depending on what support I have given, that kiddo. And I also have in my toolbox as a parent. So that's a really great reframe right there. So that's kind of the cognitive reframe, right? Of like in the moment, not taking it personally. In those meltdown moments, what has been helpful for you from like a nervous system? Like how do you regulate in those moments? Like what actually helps you in the moment to regulate your nervous system?
Oh man, I feel like sometimes it's going to feel like you're throwing spaghetti at the walls. Like you're going to try all the things, right? And every expert has their opinion about like, do this, do that. For me, what I have found, and it sounds so easy to say out loud, and it's really not that easy in the moment, but that ability to pause and take a deep breath really does make a difference, like for my nervous system. So what that looks like for me, in my own therapy, in my own work, I'm learning like bilateral movement. And so like I'll stop and tap my chest in a bilateral fashion to create that physical trigger to my body and my nervous system that I'm safe, I'm present, that sort of thing. And then I have a script that I use that I say to myself that helps calm me. So for me, and this is going to look, again, totally different depending on where you're at and what you believe and all these kinds of things. Sure. For me, I'm a Christian. And so in the moment, I will stop and I will pray out loud while I'm doing bilateral movement. And I will say, okay, Holy Spirit, I'm overwhelmed right now. Can you please give me the words of how to respond to my kid? And can you fill this house so that we can feel your presence and we can feel peace? And I will pray it out loud. One, to model for my kids, like, hey, mom's dysregulated. She's not feeling great. And look at how she's managing it so that they have that visual. It serves that like dual purpose of like, it's calming my nervous system to say that, to remove myself from the situation and do something that is soothing. And it's also modeling for them what I hope that they will eventually learn to be able to do for themselves. And then once I'm calm, then I can jump back in and I can offer them co-regulation because now I've done that work of calming myself first.
Yeah. So powerful that so many of these tools are caught, not taught. And so that's what you're talking about. You're modeling in that moment of like, okay, this is what mom does when she's feeling dysregulated. And also I love it. I love the breath prayer and, just praying of the Holy Spirit, like come over this whole entire house. My kids know that when my prayer gets to Jesus, take the wheel, that is when like, it's like, oh, mom is real dysregulated. Like we really do need to
I'm pretty sure that's my kids' thought too. If they're like, "Oh, mom's shouting Jesus downstairs," she's. We need to, whatever we're doing, everybody stop and listen to her.
It is
I'm
go
pretty
time.
sure that's a clue. 100%.
I always joke with my kids. Like one of the things that the tools that I use is that I will like if we need to get to. Typically it's church. We are always late to church. And because they only go to school 2 days a week. So school, like I can get them to school 2 days a week. Man, church, we are always late. And one of my regulating tools is that I will sing opera style. I'll be like,
I love
girls, get in the
that.
car, right? Because it massages your vagus nerve. But my kids know, like I'll hear one of them be like, Ella, she's singing, get in the car. That is their cue of like, hey, we got to get going here.
I love that. I just only in the last, gosh, maybe since October, have
Yeah.
started adding singing intentionally in when I feel dysregulated because I had read something back in the fall about how if you hold your stress in your throat, the way to release that is to sing.
Yes.
And so we've just started incorporating that. So I love that example. That's amazing.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. So, how did learning to regulate yourself change the way you showed up for your kids during those harder moments? Like when you're thinking through your journey as a mom, how did, putting in these tools, how did that change, your progression and your journey of motherhood?
Yeah. I when we first started out in parenting in general, not just with like toddlers, but also as we started navigating our kids and their unique needs, I honestly spent most of my day feeling like a terrible failure. Like, I have no idea what to do with these kids. I am screwing this up. Like, I'm a type A person, right? So I would like read all the books, do all the things, and we would still have those behaviors. And so then I'd be like, what am I doing? It's me. It's me. Like, it felt very personal. I was very hard on myself. And as I started to do that work of like, okay, let's reframe their behavior. Let's see it as communication, not an attack. Let me calm my nervous system so that I can go in with curiosity and co-regulate them. I saw a huge difference in my own like presence in the space. I didn't feel so much like a failure. I felt like, okay, I can handle this. Throw it at me. Give me your worst. And I'm going to help you through it. And we are going to navigate it together as a team, even if you never once become regulated in the entire interaction. We will somehow come out on the other side together and it will be okay. And in turn, in those moments, I could feel that happening. I could feel where my calmness created, we've got those matching neurons, right? So my nervous system is calm. Then I could start to see where my nervous system was calming their nervous system, even if their language didn't necessarily match that. Their body might start to calm. We might go from a kid chucking stuff across the floor to just sitting next to me and shouting at me instead of screaming and throwing things. It might be really subtle, and that's okay. But it would be there, and it took time. And as I saw it, then the more I felt like, oh gosh, okay, I can do this. I got this. Like, we're figuring this out. And, it doesn't, now those little kids are now teens. And when I interact with them, that interaction is completely different. It's not this controlling parenting dynamic that they started out with. It's much more collaborative with them.
Yeah. I love that. Was so beautifully said, Sherrie. Really, I'm just like soaking in like your tone of voice and your gentleness. Like, I can really tell. I mean, we're like thousands of miles apart, and you're like co-regulating my system right now. So thank you. This is like a joy. What you're talking about, it is so true that it kind of shifts the goal, right? Through these big meltdowns. When people come or call me and say like, hey, this is what's going on. Really, the goal is like to quote unquote, like fix the behavior, right? Like fix my kid's behavior. But really what emotional wellness coaching does, and what this podcast, my hope is that it's bringing more calm and connection into the family, because that's how we're healed, right? Like these behaviors are healed through this calm connection that we're creating. And to your point, like you said, like sometimes that meant that the meltdown didn't necessarily like stop right in that moment, but maybe instead of like chucking something across the floor, they're beside you, connecting with you. Have you read, gosh, I can't remember what it's called. It's Andy Stanley's parenting book. Have you read that? Man, I wish I could. So. Anyways, his whole like kind of thesis of the whole book is that you want your kids to want to come home and you've raised them, right? And I would think, yeah. I assume that most parents would say, yes, that's a great goal to have. So when we're talking about that, if that is our overarching goal one of several overarching goals of parenting, we want our kids to be adult children who want to come back and want to interact and engage with us throughout their lives. If that is like one of my overarching goals, then the moment of the meltdown is not how soon can I get my kid to stop yelling. That's not necessarily the goal. The goal is like, I'm training my child to come to me and connect with me and borrow my calm brain and my calm nervous system. And that's where that connection comes in. So yeah. I love how you're wording that, because it is a reframe. I feel like the whole theme of this episode is like reframe it all.
Yeah. I will say to that point. So we have teenagers that are getting ready to launch. Like we've got one in the middle of college application process at the moment. And it really hit me this year, like, oh wait, this kid isn't a kid. He's going to be an adult. And I have trained him his entire life that he is a whole person with needs and wants. And I've prepared him to be an independent whole adult apart from me. So what am I doing that's going to make him want to come back to me and be like in my family and part and have a relationship with me? And really in the conversations that I've had with friends around this, as I'm navigating this, I realized like, it is this work. It is the being intentional with them when they're at their worst to say, hey, I'm still here. Because if I can do it now while they're a kid and they see that over and over and over again, then on their worst days as an adult, they're going to go, wait, I can go back home to my mom and she's going to be there for me and she's going to support me. And that's where that connection starts to create, where they realize like, okay, we can have this collaborative adult relationship. But if I am working to control their behavior all through childhood, and then they launch out into adulthood, the only thing that they know is that they're going to come home and I'm going to tell them exactly what to do. And I don't know about you, but as an adult, the last thing I want to hear is my mom telling me, hey, you did that wrong. This is what you should do. Like, I don't know. That doesn't sound exciting to me. For sure. I assume it doesn't sound exciting to my children. And so kind of building that framework now as their kids really does make a difference on the other end. But I will say, if you've got little kids, you don't think about that. It literally took my kid meeting with a college coach to like fill out his application and going and meeting with admissions counselors. And I sat there and went, oh, you're actually leaving.
Yes.
Did I actually take that into account in my plan here? So you don't think about it when you're in the thick of toddler parenting. But it's important. It's important to remember they are going to leave, and what kind of relationship do you want with them? And are you building the framework, that foundation to have that future relationship with your adult? And so when I parent my kids, when they were little, I had sort of like a filter of thinking through it of like, okay, what are you communicating? What's your needs? Like that sort of thing. Right now, as I'm parenting teens, like my question that I keep asking myself is what I'm doing creating a relationship with that future adult? Like,
oh, that's so good. That's so good. Oh my gosh. That like hit me. That hits me because I mean, talk about another reframe. Can you give an example? And if you can't on the fly, it's totally fine. But do you
Yeah.
have an example like in your back pocket that you're like, this is a moment that I did this?
Yeah. So I don't, this might not perfectly land. I hope it does because this is the one that comes to my mind. But so I've got a multitude of kids, right? One of them is 14. And there was a situation where something had, he, he was navigating a situation. He had an opinion about what had happened. And he threw it in a group chat with some friends and his siblings. And a sibling came to me and said, "Hey, this is his opinion on this topic.
Sure.
And I think you should talk to him about it." Being a good big brother,
Yeah.
he thought he'd step in and navigate this. So, being the parent that I am, I'm like, no, I don't ever want my kids to feel like they can't come to me. He didn't feel like he could share this opinion with me. So I need to go tell him that he's wrong, that he can share his opinion with me. And so he did not like that.
Okay, wait a second. So let me make sure I'm tracking. So you weren't upset that the opinion was different from yours. You were upset that he didn't share it with you first.
Yes.
Totally.
I was mad that he didn't come and talk to me.
Sure.
My whole thing is, you can talk to me about anything. I don't care. You don't have to agree with me. I'm raising these independent adults, full human beings with their own needs and wants.
Yes.
And you chose not to come to me. I don't appreciate that. And so I went to him and I was like, dude, you don't have to talk to me. You don't even have to tell me what your opinion is. But I need you to know that you can talk to me, like that I'm here to listen. Well, he did not like that. So he didn't talk to me. And he came back. It took a couple days and he finally came back and he said, "Hey, Mom, when you did that, I did not feel heard or seen. You made the situation about you and not about what I was needing or feeling in that moment." Okay, I literally sat there and I was like, good job, first of all. Way to advocate for your needs and wants. You did exactly what I've trained you to do.
Uh-huh.
And oh man, I screwed that one up. Like it hit me so hard. Like that's the last thing I want to hear him say. And that really, it came in this kind of midst of realizing, hey, I'm launching some kids. And for me, it landed in that of like, oh, I need to reframe my question. This is no longer about, am I raising them to be these independent adults? This is about, am I raising them to be my future, for the future relationship that I'm going to have with him? And that in that moment, sure, I taught him a skill, like you're allowed to have this differing opinion, which is what I was trying to address. But in that moment, I didn't create a space where a future adult would want to come to me. Yeah. I overrode that. And so I'm still in the early stages of figuring this out. Yeah. But for me, that really has helped me to determine how I want to respond to my kids.
Sure.
No matter what the behavior is, whether they're melting down or there's something that they're excited about that maybe I could care less about. That kid's talking to me about Minecraft and I'm like, cool, you built another world. What another thing? And I have no idea because I've never played this video game. Right. Like, I still want to show him like, hey, I'm excited about the thing that you're interested in and I'm curious. So I'm going to ask a bunch of questions so that when he is an adult, he knows it doesn't matter whether mom knows what I'm talking about or cares about what I'm talking. She cares about me. And so she wants a relationship with me. And so I can go do that with her.
That's great. What a powerful story. What did you say when he came to you and he said that? Like, were you literally like, okay, great job. And
my jaw he texted it to me and my jaw just dropped. And I texted him back and I just said, wow, you are right. I absolutely made that about me. Wow. And I am so sorry. And I am going to figure out how to not do that next time. Thanks for telling me.
What a beautiful, rip, repair cycle, right? Yeah. I mean, what a wonderful, great job. I just want to say, wow. First off, to be raising a kiddo who feels safe enough to say that. And also a kiddo who has the emotional intelligence to be like, man, she really made that about her and not like,
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of emotional intelligence, being able to like see when a boundary has been like, when an emotional boundary has been crossed, and then to be able to say, to verbalize that. He's 14. Is that what you said? 14?
Yeah, he's 14. So I think that goes to your point, like what we were saying earlier, like
Yeah.
the sooner you do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
He has those tools in
Yeah.
his toolbox because
Right.
he's been seeing us do this for 10 years.
Yeah.
So he was a 3, 4-year-old watching his mom tell other kids like, hey, do you need to be seen right now? Or do you need me to solve this problem right now? Like
Yeah.
he's seeing us like work through some of these other tools where we're asking our kids questions or we're
Yeah.
helping them co-regulate. And so now as this early teen, he has a level of emotional intelligence that in all honesty, I don't think my husband or I would have responded that way. Like,
Sure. That's impressive.
both of us were like, I mean, that was like adult level maturity there, man.
Absolutely.
Like, I would never have said that to my mom at 14.
Absolutely.
I think it's those building blocks that are being in place, and that comes with are we setting that foundation as moms and parents for them?
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so let's kind of, we're sticking with emotional meltdowns and all of that. But
Yes.
for those mamas who might be listening who feel like, listen, I have tried everything and I am still like consistently on the regular triggered by these emotional outbursts from my kiddo. What is one place that you would encourage them to start that isn't about like fixing the kiddo's behavior, like quote unquote, fixing the behavior? What's a place for them to start?
I would say start by not focusing on the kids' behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So if your question literally is what you asked me, right? Like if the question is, we're still dealing with outbursts, we're still dealing with these behaviors, and I'm still feeling triggered, maybe stop looking at yours and the kids' behavior. And that sounds really counterintuitive because that's the problem that you're trying to solve. But sometimes when we focus too much attention on a problem we're trying to solve, we actually make it worse and bigger. And so instead, maybe asking ourselves, like, oh, there's an outburst, saying to ourselves, there's an outburst right now. I have no idea how to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel super triggered. And we're just going to let that be.
Yes.
We're just going to put that out there on the table. And it's just going to be there. And I'm going to be okay with that for a minute. Like being able to just even identify that that's what is calling our attention rather than trying fixing it can sometimes be the switch in our brain that goes, oh, wait, what if I responded in this way? Because as we've said, the goal isn't changing the kid's behavior. The behavior might not ever change. It's really about how are we approaching it? How are we interacting and responding to our kids in it? And so if you can just name what you're feeling, like I feel triggered, that's going to disrupt that pattern and cycle in and of itself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes so I work at this local nonprofit, it's the Dream Center, and we work with kiddos that come from hard places. And I was just doing a teacher training the other day, and I was like, listen, you guys, I've been doing this for 20 years. And if I don't know what to do with a child and their behavior, I just narrate it out loud like a sports commentator. I just am like, wow, you're really kicking the door right now. And they're like looking at me. These are college age kids that are like, taking down notes. And I'm like, here's the deal. It's because I don't know what to do next. Like I am buying myself time. I'm narrating so that I can stay in my like prefrontal cortex, wise owl brain. And hopefully within that, moment, those few moments, I can get something like I'm either regulating myself or I can think of another idea. But now I've told them all my secrets that when they hear me narrating, they're going to be like, oh, she has no idea what to do now.
I mean, in all fairness, 90% of parenting, we don't know what to do. So
it's accurate.
You can buy yourself a minute by narrating the behavior, go for it.
Mhm.
Like it's what I'm saying, right? Like instead of trying
Yes.
to fix it, you're just letting it be there
Uh-huh.
and it'll just work itself out. It might not look the way you want it to when it works
Mhm.
itself out, but then our bodies are interesting in that there is this flow, right? Like
Yeah.
a kid's going to become escalated. They're going to peak at some time. They're going to come back down
Yeah.
regardless of what you do. So
That's
maybe just
helpful.
don't try and fix it and
That
just
is
let
helpful.
the peak and valley happen.
I'm just like
It's okay.
envisioning like the next time a meltdown happens, like these sweet mamas saying, like Sherrie said, it's going to peak and it's going to come down and we're just going to let it happen. I love that. We need your voice in our
I,
ears in those moments.
you say that, and I will tell you, I have had multiple therapists on speakerphone in my AirPods as a kid was having a tantrum, telling me, Sherrie, he's going to peak in a second.
Right?
Just keep
Just
your
wait
mouth
for
shut.
it.
Don't say a word. And I would be like, but he's doing well. It's just like, uh-huh, but
Mhm.
don't say anything to him.
Yeah.
He's gonna power his own self out.
Yeah.
She's gonna come back to, they did that for me. And
Mhm.
so as a mom, if you can do that for yourself, or if you can call a trusted friend and say, like
Yeah.
narrate to the friend, hey, right now, this is what's happening. And the friend go, oh, okay. Well, now what's happening? With no
Absolutely.
judgment, no effort to solve, it will be okay. You will get
Yes.
through it.
That is such great advice. Oh my gosh, that's such great advice. So, okay, how do you help parents tell the difference between a kiddo who won't do something and a kid who can't do something in the middle of that emotional meltdown?
That's a hard one.
It is
And
a really hard one.
it's a really, really hard one. I feel like it's a very fine line between can't and won't.
Mhm.
And I tend to always err on the side of they can't right now.
Yes.
So that is my kind of, if you really cannot tell if this is a can't or won't situation, act as if it's a can't situation and treat it accordingly. Because it is a very fine line. The won'ts, there's defiant kids. That I don't think kids are generally defiant. I don't think they're naturally that way. I think behavior is communication. But I think that, like any of us, there's times where we're like, I don't want to do that. And they're going to dig in their heels and they're going to say that.
Yeah.
But the amount of times that I've seen that happen is so fractional in
Mhm.
comparison to the I can't do what you're asking me to. I can't calm down. I can't, whatever the thing is. It's like, I mean, I could tell you, I could probably 1 out of 10,
Yeah.
if that. Like it's so small in my opinion and
Yeah.
in my experience. And even in talking to other moms, like, and they start telling me, they wouldn't do this. They refused, and they start giving me the details of what the interaction was, and I'm like, I don't actually think they could do that. I think you've got this wrong. Like,
Right.
I think we are just so easy to. We are human beings, and we are quick to say it's that they won't. It's that again that framing of disrespect, and so more often than not, it is the can't. But if it truly is, or if you're looking at it, like I tend to look at my kids and I can kind of read it on their face, like
Mhm.
what's going on for them um, externally, like how do they read? And this is really subtle, and it really requires you to know your children. But you can often see it in their eyes and in their behavior and mannerisms. That if it's a won't situation, they have a little bit more of like a stubbornness and like digging their heels into it. Where with a can't situation, you can kind of see like, oh, they're dysregulated.
Yeah.
We call it being in your thinking brain
Mhm.
in our house. And so we'll
Yeah.
tell our kids like, I don't I don't think you're in your thinking brain right now. So let me help you get back into the thinking brain. And if they're in a won't situation, they will literally roll their eyes at me and be like, oh my God, here she goes again. Um, and then that's kind of a good clue to me of like,
Yeah.
oh, this is intentional. Like,
Mhm.
but if it's a really is a can, like I think it is, then they won't do that because they're not in their thinking brain enough to roll their eyes at me.
Right.
So exactly. Maybe finding that thing in your house of like, that can kind of be that nonverbal cue to you that you can kind of test the waters if you really feel like you need to. But in general, like I said, I just treat them all as I can'ts, and we go from there, because even in an I won't, they just want to be heard and seen.
Yeah.
And so if I'm treating it as an I can't, they're going to feel heard and seen somehow through that interaction.
Yeah. So that's such a gracious way to look at it, and just a compassionate, connected posture towards parenting. I love that answer so much. Just as an aside, you say thinking brain. Do you have, what do you say for the non-thinking brain? Is there a word for that in your household that you use? Nope. It's just like, hey,
you're either in your thinking your brain or you're not in your thinking brain. That is just how we refer to it.
Super simple.
I'll say like, you seem really emotional, but that kind of feels a little subjective.
Sure.
Whereas if we're like, you're in your thinking brain, or you're not in your thinking brain right now. I don't think you're in your thinking brain, or something along those lines. It really, it's less actually for them and more about for me. It's a reminder to myself that they aren't in that prefrontal cortex. So they are in a reactionary mode, and they are not actually able to think through the logic. Yeah. And so rather than me try to like logic our way out of the situation, I can be like, you know what? The logic doesn't matter here. They just need to feel seen and heard until they come back to regulated. Yeah. Something that I learned really early on, and it is really hard to do, but it was important to learn. When a kid is having a meltdown, they're having a tantrum, they're in that reactive state, right? So they're not thinking. So there's going to be, it's not just one behavior. There's like umpteen behaviors that are happening at one time, right? So depending on your kid, depending on how dysregulated they are, they could be cussing over here and hitting the wall over here, or throwing this, or yelling at you, or speaking disrespectfully. Like, right, there's a bunch of behaviors that are happening. Yeah. And so what our inclination a lot of times as parents is to be like, don't talk to me like that. Don't throw that. Don't knock that over. Like, we start addressing each little individual behavior. They can't hear those things when they're dysregulated. And so that reminder to myself of like, oh, this kid isn't in their thinking brain, kind of tells me like, you can do that all you want. They're not going to hear you. And so you need to get them back into a place where they can actually hear you talking to them. And then you can have the conversation about, hey, you knocked this over, you pushed your sister out of the way, whatever the case is. Let's have a conversation about how those behaviors aren't appropriate. But trying to reprimand them in the moment of a meltdown, it doesn't really work. But if we're seeing it, that's where that like the can't and won't, if we see it as a won't, then we're seeing those as choices that they made, not reactions. Yeah. As a result of an emotion.
Yeah. Yes. That's great. I'm going to flip the last two questions. We have 2 questions left. Yeah. Okay. Because I want you to end on the kind of the pep talk for moms out there. Okay. So, this is a question that I ask every guest. So what is an emotion that you're currently getting stuck in, and what's a go-to regulation tool for you right now in this season of life?
So this is a really hard emotion that I don't think a lot of us think about. Yeah. But the big emotion that we are dealing with, that I'm dealing with personally, and then it sort of spiraled into as a family we're navigating, is this idea of contempt, and particularly in the form of sarcasm. Okay. And so I felt really convicted last fall, or not even last fall, this was almost a year ago. A pastor talked about contempt, and he was talking about sarcasm and how that is often rooted in a place of pride or superiority over a person or a situation, where you're feeling judgmental, and rather than owning your judgment, like, you'll kind of make a sarcastic side comment. I grew up in a family that was super sarcastic. My household is a family that is super sarcastic. It's seen as humor. nobody's ever really looked like beneath it. They just kind of see it as this, it's humorous. We have a lot of dry humor in our home. And so when I had heard that, I really paused and I was like, we use a lot of sarcasm. Why do we use a lot of sarcasm? Is this what he's saying? Like, are we using it as a way to mask feelings of contempt or superiority or pride or whatever? And very quickly I realized, oh yeah, that is definitely what is happening. We are failing miserably. This is not funny. This is just our way of not addressing the thing. Like, we're just slapping humor over it and moving on with our day, and nobody is outright taking it personal, and nobody is outright saying that that's what we're doing, but we're all kind of internally doing this. And we have teens that I don't know that this is true of my 6-year-old, but this is definitely a conversation being had with my teens. And we're navigating it. They were very much in the, like, we are stuck and we're not really sure how to get out of it. And so right now we're just in a place where we're calling attention to it. Like, oh, I was sarcastic in that moment. Why was I sarcastic? Okay, I was being critical of your behavior here, or I was feeling like you were judging me when you did this thing. And I felt like, why would you judge me for that? Or I felt pride. Like, we're just in a place where we're just calling it out. We're not trying to control it. We're not trying to minimize it or lessen the amount of it right now. Right now, we're just trying to observe it and call it out. And the hope is that the more that we can see it, the quicker that we will be to jump to sarcasm, to go, hey, I didn't actually appreciate that thing you said, or I have this value that isn't being met right now. And so I'm judging you because of my own expectations and desires. Like, and then hopefully we can address those feelings as they come up. That's the goal. I don't know how long it'll take us to get there, because like I said, we are in it.
Gosh.
It's too easy for us to just go to the sarcasm.
Yes.
So we're realizing, like, oh, wait, there's more. There is something behind the sarcasm. It isn't just a funny thing that we've said.
Yeah. Man, you're like reading my mail. I'm like, I don't really like that answer, Sherrie, because that's having me. That's like, now I have to think about why do we use so much sarcasm and wit?
It definitely was like, oh, dude, why did you have to say that? Like,
stop, just leave us alone.
That's exactly what my kids are trying. They're like, no, I don't. I mean nothing by it. It's just funny. And I was like, the look on your face communicates that I hit the nail on the head.
Right.
Like, come on now, guys.
That's such a good, thoughtful answer. Oh my gosh. I'm really going to percolate on that one, because that is really, really good. And it is man, what a great question of like, have you ever read anything about like nonviolent communication?
Yes, I love it. We use it in our house nonstop. I'm a huge fan of it.
Listen, I stumbled upon that like maybe 4 years ago, and I was like, where has this been all my life? Like, what? But when you were talking, I was thinking of that, of like really asking yourself, like, what is the need that is not being met here? Right. Or what need am I trying to get met here when I am using sarcasm? Gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to journal about that, Sherrie. My word. Wow. That was good. That was deep.
Oh, well, I'm glad. If it helps you, I'm glad. Take it for what it's worth. If you're like my kids and you're like, sarcasm means nothing, that's great.
Sure.
For me, it was super convicting. And so we're trying.
What a wonderful, thoughtful answer. I love it. Okay. So the last question that I would love to end this awesome conversation with is, what would you want moms to remember on their really hard days? So I want you to like envision that we've got a mama listening right now, and it's just been a really hard, not even season, just a very hard day right now. Lots of overwhelm, maybe lots of meltdowns. What, if anything, what do you have for a mom that's experiencing that kind of day right now?
Man, you are not alone. That is what I would want you to know. I think motherhood is so isolating at times, and we can feel like we are the only person who doesn't know how to do it, that we're screwing up our kids. It can feel really, really daunting and scary and overwhelming, and especially on the really hard days. Um, but if you were sitting in my kitchen, I would tell you, you are not alone in this. We all have those hard days. We all have those moments. Um, and my best advice to you would be to find the person that you can call right now and say, oh my God, my kid did this. And then they're going to say, oh my God, my kid has done that too. And then you can both laugh at how ridiculous it is that your children are doing those behaviors. Like, find the find the person who's going to bring you back to joy and to remember, like, in the grand scheme of things, some of this stuff isn't going to make the difference. What makes the difference is, are you showing up and are you present with your kids and are you building connection with them? And if you're doing that, which I'm sure you are because you're worried that you're failing, then you've succeeded. If you think you're failing, you're doing your job, because the person who's actually not building connection is not worried about whether or not they're failing. And so, yeah, just remembering, like, you're not the only person. You're not the first person to raise a kid. This might be your first go around, but everybody's done it. It happens.
That's such a wonderful reminder. I'm so glad that we ended on that. Sherrie, I am so grateful to have met you. What a wonderful conversation. I just feel totally I guess filled up might be the right word. Like, it was just a wonderful, like, it's snowy out here. It's a cold winter day in Missouri. And this was just a warm and welcoming and just really inclusive conversation of like, hey, like, listen, we're all trying to figure this out together. And you had really, really great practical ideas. And I just really enjoyed learning from you today. So thank you so much for being on this podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. I loved it. I do enjoy it. I love connecting with other moms and hearing their strategies. And I think I'm going to steal your opera singing one when I get home and see how that lands with my children.
You go for it. You go for it. Well, thank you so much for listening today to the Emotions with Ease podcast. If a discovery call would feel supportive to you, head over to the episode show notes and a link is in there. And just know that this week I am rooting for you.